but whoever loses his life for my sake will save it. The Gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, Lord Jesus. Put your candles up. Put your candles up. When I was growing up, I spent a lot of time in the car with my dad. A lot of time on business trips with him. I would travel with him from time to time just to hang out in the hotel pool. And I just have this strong connection with my dad and music, listening to all sorts of things, country, of course, a lot of Garth Brooks and George Strait, his favorite, the Eagles. But I'll always remember growing up listening to a Christian artist that I'm sure many of you are familiar with, Rich Mullins. And Rich Mullins was he was from Indiana, but I think he was a Kansan by the end of his life. And actually, I don't know if many of you know, but he was in the process of entering the Catholic Church with Father Matt McGinnis at the Wichita State Newman Center at the time of his untimely death. And he's famous for, of course, the great song, Awesome God, but there are a few others that I like. All Right, Okay, Amen, and Creed, I'm sure, is the way that I learned the Creed, by listening to that song. But this week, in reading this second reading and praying about it all week, wanting to preach on it all week, I was definitely reminded of his song, Screen Door, which, as a kid, it has like this beat that you can do with cups and things, and I'll never get it out of my mind, but it says, it's about as useless as a screen door on a submarine. Faith without works is like a song you can't sing. And I've just been thinking about that and the analogies, the metaphors used in that image, and it's really true. Looking at this gospel, looking at this second reading, looking at all of our readings today, faith without works is like a song you can't sing. I love that image in particular. What good is a song? A song is beautiful if you can compose it and write it and make the music and the lyrics and all these great things. But if it's not actually sung, so people can't hear it and people can't sing it, then what does it matter? It just remains kind of a beautiful thought in your mind, but nothing that actually impacts your life. So it is with faith and works. If we just have faith, but don't profess it in what we do, if we don't let it change our lives, then our faith, I think, is useless. St. James uses stronger words. Our faith without works is dead. I think our faith without works is just kind of wishful thinking, hopeful optimism, that things are going to be all right, that God's going to take care of me at the end, that hopefully I get to heaven, things like this. Faith without works also, I would say, is wasted. If it just remains in your heart as kind of this relationship between you and God where you say, God, I think you're true, I know you're true, but I'm not going to let it change my life. I'm not going to let it be poured out in works. Then it's wasted. It's wasted on the world because it's not lived out in practice. Really, the true essence of this question is, are you convinced enough of the gospel? Are you convinced of the good news enough that you're going to let it impact everything you do? If you're really in love with this faith, if you really believe in the promises of Jesus Christ, then you can't just go about your life in a normal way afterwards. You have to express it in works. You have to. It's like Jeremiah says in the Old Testament, it became a fire burning within me that I had to let escape. So this passage is often used as a Catholic argument for the necessity of both faith and works, and it's used as an argument against us by a lot of our Protestant brothers and sisters. Well, you Catholics, you believe that you have to earn your way to heaven. You believe that you have to score enough points by doing enough charitable works that God will let you in the pearly gates. Well, I think they know just as well as we do that true faith, when you see it in a person, you don't really hear it from them just saying, I believe in God. You see it by what they've done and the way that they live their life. I meet a lot of people, especially like those house blessings that I talked about last Sunday, where I'll kind of ask them, what's your faith practice been? Because it's important if you're not practicing. And they'll say, well, Father, I believe in God. I love him. I believe that. I 100% believe that in their heart, that faith is there, that they believe in God. But are you letting it flow out into all that you say and do? Are you letting it flow out into actual practice, into actual worship, into actual joy? Faith without works is dead. And so I thought of several different analogies this morning that kind of come to mind about faith and works. Faith and works, faith without works is like a man or a woman who loves their boyfriend or girlfriend but won't commit. That has a trust and a love that this person is the one for me, but I'm not quite sure. I'm held back by a little bit of fear. And so I'm not actually going to put that faith in that person into practice. I'm not actually going to go to the altar in the church and say, till death do us part, because a little part of me is scared. A faith without works, in a more practical example, is like a skydiver who just is stuck in the plane and won't jump. Thousands of people have gone before that person and been all right. They have the parachute, they have everything to know that they'll be okay. But something in them, the fear, is just holding them back from jumping out. This can be an analogy for several different things in life. I mean, it's as simple as a priest who has faith without works, just sit in the rectory all the time and not go out and care for the sick, not go out and love the children in the school, not go out and do anything if I'm unconvinced. The analogy that really came to mind this week as we celebrated the anniversary of 9/11 yesterday is faith without works would be like a firefighter who's professed to go in and save people to just stay in the firehouse when the bell rings. And we know that they would never do such a thing. I read all kinds of stories, I'm sure like you did this week, of the heroism from 20 years ago. Yes, I was alive during 9/11, okay? It's shocking to me. We have a teacher in the school, the first teacher in the school that was 2 when 9/11 happened and doesn't remember it. But I was in 6th grade. I remember I was actually at Mass in the morning. In Colwich, we had Mass at 7:45. And I know the attacks happened during that time. And somebody told Father at the end of Mass, and we came back and prayed special prayers for our country. And just like you, I was not doing my homework that night because I was fixed on the TV. And like you, parents and grandparents probably experienced, I was scared and confused and didn't know what was going on. It's something that we'll never forget. And I was moved this week in reading those stories that the police officers of the NYPD and the firefighters of FDNY, they have this never forget attitude about it. Certainly. They never want the people who are now being formed as firefighters and police officers to forget the sacrifices that their brothers made that day. To never forget. Read stories of men who would see what was happening on TV, or they were dropping their kids off at school and heard it on the radio, and they told their wives, I have to go. I'm not on duty today, but I have to go. This story of this one particular woman who had already lost a husband in the police force and was just like, please don't go. I don't want to lose another spouse. But he had to, and he was gone for 3 or 4 days, caring for all the people down there. Never forget. Never forget. I read this one line in particular in a story that really hit home with me. The fire department builds a culture of sacrifice in New York City by building a culture of memory. So they help the people today sacrifice by reminding them constantly of what the people before them have done for their brothers and sisters in service of other people. And really, there's no greater example of this is my body given up for you than what those people did that day, going up into a building while others were coming down on a mission that was doomed to save every last person possible. I think that image, building a culture of sacrifice out of a culture of memory, is something that they didn't invent, but something that we're we're really all about, the Catholic Church, that the Christian faith is all about. We build a culture of sacrifice by remembering every day and looking at the cross, by remembering every day and coming to Mass, by remembering every day what happened 2,000 years ago. Just as we don't want to forget what happened 20 years ago, we don't ever want to forget what happened 2,000 years ago. Jesus' death on the cross for us is a memory that we carry as our example of what it means to have faith and works. Really, truly, he is our best example of what that means. He who did not just keep his faith, his love for his people inside of him, but expressed it in works. The greatest work of all time, dying for us on the cross. And so it is that Jesus preaches today in the gospel to remind us to never forget. Whoever wishes to come after me must deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me. This is what it means to have faith and works. If you believe in me, and if you are convinced of the love I have for you, that I had for you that day on Calvary 2,000 years ago, and that love I have for you every day, then follow after me and do the same as me. Take up your cross daily and follow me. Take up your cross and live it out in sacrifice for others. For others. So it is that I think that a lot of times, practically speaking, we as people of God feel like we need to have enough faith to be able to go out and do works. Well, if I actually believed more, then I would go out and serve and help. And a lot of times people will come to me and say, Father, I guess I just need more faith. Or I guess I just need more trust. And so when we think that we need to have faith first and then works, maybe it works the opposite at times. Maybe we need to go do those works of love and then let that build our faith. We do this all the time, especially with our youth. Like Totus Tuus in Prayer and Action in the summer. That's all about taking a kid who has a seed of faith, a little bit of faith, but then putting them in a situation where they serve or where they learn and where they grow and letting that faith become bigger for them. Especially I've seen that with Prayer and Action this summer in our parish. These kids grow by acting out these works of mercy that Jesus has taught us to do. They grow by taking up their cross, by sleeping on the floor, and by serving him every day. That's the way that we truly grow in faith. For me, it worked like that in my own life. I had a lot of faith. I learned a lot growing up at Bishop Carroll, but I didn't actually grow in my faith until I went out to Denver and taught Totus Tuus that summer after my senior year of high school. In teaching my faith and doing this work, then I was transformed and grew in my faith, hope, and love. And so I think this is just a call for all of us in our parish to grow in faith by living out our works, by letting the fruit of what we truly believe flow out into our community. Now, this is a perfect time in St. Anne. I'll admit this homily is perfectly timed with all the things that we can do in our parish right now. I've told a lot of people who ask me how St. Anne's going, it's great, but I'll always remember it as the COVID parish for me, unfortunately, right? 8 months after I started, everything changed. And for the last 18 months, we've just been trying to figure it out. But right now, we're kind of building back some things that we had lost. We'll have our parish festival in 2 weekends from now. And there's numerous opportunities to go out and serve and to build up our community and to make sure that that event and that day is a time where others can encounter us and our faith. We have people that come from all over the city, people that aren't Catholic from the neighborhood that come and join us for that festival. Additionally, in early October, the first week of October, we'll be starting our adult faith formation program for the year. And so if you've been away for a while, it's been 2 years since we've really done anything like that, come back. Come back and do that work so that you can grow in faith. Now is the time. Now is the time to demonstrate our faith by our works. So I'll just close with this last thing. A few years ago, there was a stewardship prayer that our diocese used that is a beautiful reminder of what this really means. And it goes a little something like this. My parish will be welcoming if I am welcoming. My parish will be joyful if I am joyful. My parish will be grateful if I am grateful. My parish will be generous if I am generous. Fill in the blank for yourself there. What do I want this parish to be? And be that. Be that. Let your faith, let your desire overflow in your works. And we'll make sure that, like St. James said, we're not dead without faith, without works, but that we'll be alive with both faith and works.